How's it going, people? Welcome back to my channel. Bit of a spontaneous video tonight. Obviously it's all mad. It's all going mad. You know what I'm talking about. Number one, coronavirus, full stop. It's all going mad. And number two, Mikel Arteta, the first person in the Premier League to be tested positive with coronavirus. Obviously, Brendan Rodgers was talking earlier in the pre-match press conference for Leicester, saying 3 of his players have symptoms and right now they're in isolation and they're being checked out and whatnot. And literally a few hours ago, the Premier League announcing that all fixtures will go ahead as planned. And to me, that's mad. To me, that's mad. Like, I was preparing myself for Brighton. After this news, there's no way Brighton's going ahead. I can't see it happening. If Arteta has it, then all players, well, I guess all the players were being tested anyway because of Olympiacos. But it's peak. It's peak. I'm sure Mikel Arteta met up with Pep Guardiola on Tuesday evening or at some point Tuesday. And so on. The way this sounds like it's spreading, things like this need to get called off. I can't even lie. It's going to be a very boring time for us football fans, that's for sure, with all these cancellations across the world. But health and safety first. I can't even lie to you. I wasn't too worried about it at the beginning, and I'm not overly worried about it now. Obviously, the virus is deadly, but when you look into the figures, 90%, or about 93% to be exact, of all cases so far have recovered or are recovering, which is good to hear. Obviously, of that 93%, I think 8% are still in some sort of critical condition, which is not so good to hear. But in the big scheme of things, I think it's got to be contained somehow, and things like Cheltenham should have been called off. The Premier League should have stood up and really took lead and called it off. Serie A called off, La Liga called off, Premier League, all fixtures going to go ahead. In a city as populated and diverse as London alone, never mind the rest of the UK put together, London alone, it would have gone mad. And it's still going to go mad. When you look into the story of the virus, if you can say that, it seems like it's in your body for 3-4 days prior to showing any symptoms. And in those 3-4 days, you are infectious, or whoever has it is infectious, which is not good to hear. Because on the other hand, when you look at another virus that went around in recent history, well, in my time, SARS, that became infectious after symptoms or towards the end of symptoms. So it was far easier to contain, far easier to control. Hence why there's a bit more panic with this one. Hence why there's all these stoppages to sporting events, all these stoppages to life in Italy, for example. Spain's getting out of hand. China, obviously, it started there. It's out of hand already. So it's understandable. It's understandable. But at the same time, like I said, what are we going to do about football for the weekend? But you just have to wait and see how it pans out. Just have to wait and see how it pans out, because like I said, the Premier League, they have to do the right thing now. They've already notified social media, or however they've done it, that they're going to hold a meeting tomorrow. And yeah, I'm expecting them to call off the Premier League games. I'm expecting them to announce a suspension of fixtures for at least a couple of weeks. Because I feel like everyone has to be tested now. I feel like everyone has to be tested to really be able to contain it, especially in the football world, especially in the Premier League. Now we have Arteta confirming positive for it. So, boy, how mad is that? Mikel Arteta, the first person in the Premier League, for fuck's sake. And in terms of what can be done about it after, you guys let me know, because I've discussed it with friends. Is it about suspension, even though this does look like it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, would a suspension end up in a cancellation? Because running out of time. I think Euro 2020 is going to be called off. I was going to Rome for Turkey versus Italy, which was one of the first games, if not the first game, to kick off the Euros. But I doubt it. Nah, it's not going to happen. That's going to get moved to 2021, which gives the domestic league some more time to complete fixtures. But in my opinion, if this gets as out of hand as it could, mainly because of the lack of action from the UK, the lack of action from Boris Johnson. And listen, it's just popped up on the screen now. Boris Johnson, when he came earlier to update everyone about the UK's plan to step up. Listen, wasn't we told that if we have any flu-like symptoms to stay at home and isolate for a week or two? Wasn't we told that already? This man has come out today to update us saying we're taking the next step in action to tackle the virus. And that next step is the same thing. The same thing. If you have flu-like symptoms, self-isolate. Oh yeah, and he added, if you're 70 plus years of age, don't go on any cruises. Listen, God knows how many 70 plus year olds right now want to go on a cruise. It's probably a handful at most, if that. But what kind of an update is that? Instead of really pushing on, yeah, and taking hold of the situation, and we're falling behind. We're falling behind the action taken by other countries. And he kept referring to science. One of the reporters did actually question him, saying, listen, what do you say to these people that are going to say you're putting lives at risk? This question was posed to Boris Johnson. What are you going to say to these people that are saying you're putting lives at risk by taking this decision not to cancel schools, not to really push on with action, and instead tell us to wash our hands and 70-year-olds can't go on a cruise? And again, he went to science and kept referring to science, and it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough, because at the end of the day, you can see every day it's getting more and more surprising, to say the least. I don't believe it's out of control yet, but surprising. And if those reports, if that video I saw, I might as well refer to, is a Joe Rogan interview with Michael something, some sort of a doctor or a scientist or he was something, and he was talking about it. And he's the one that said the virus is in you and infectious for 3-4 days before you show symptoms. And if that is the case, then listen, thousands have it. The numbers, I think they're at 600 and something now, or it was 590 last time I checked. I'm assuming it's over 600 now. Those numbers are inaccurate. I think there's thousands right now across the UK minimum that have the virus. So who are they kidding? Who are they kidding? And they keep talking about delaying the peak of the virus until the summer, delaying the peak so the NHS can handle it. The NHS are always under pressure in this country, always. Yes, they're under more pressure in the winter, but in all honesty, delaying the peak, hoping that you get a vaccine for it, instead of doing your utmost to contain it now and not let it get out of hand, so you don't have to, so your peak is lower than what it potentially could be in the summer if you delay it with all these tactics and whatnot. In all honesty, to me, so I'm just reading the club statement. Arsenal personnel who had recent close contact with Mikel will now self-isolate in line with health guidelines. We expect this to be a significant number of people. And that includes people from Coney, including the first team staff and squad and people around and whatnot. But yeah, I just believe that all of this slow action from the UK is pretty much down to money, and they're going to take a massive hit. I guess we're all going to take a massive hit. When I read stories that British Airways emailed staff asking them to take unpaid voluntary leave from 1 month up to a year. Let me repeat that. Unpaid voluntary leave. Unpaid voluntary leave. Who's going to want that brought on them all of a sudden, honestly. Who's going to want that? And this was frontline staff too. This was not the fucking head honchos. You fucking relax and take a pay cut for a while and take some leave without money, for fuck's sake. This whole virus, this whole lack of action is gonna open up some ugly doors. People are already fighting in fucking Asda's and Tesco's for toilet roll and hand sanitizer. The hand sanitizer I kind of get, but toilet roll, nah, it's not even like I kind of listen. You can't be fighting over these products. It's not the end of the fucking world, and this just shows how mad it would actually get if things really got on top for us in this country. People don't know how to act. Toilet roll. It's mad. Like, that's the first thing on people's minds when you're on lockdown in your house. Oh yeah, we've got a whole stack of toilet roll, we're good. Like, it's all mad, but it is what it is, people. We'll see how it goes. I expect, like I said, tomorrow to wake up and hear the Premier League has been cancelled for the next couple of weeks. Fucking up my fantasy as well. I had a lot of money on the line in that, but it is what it is. Like I said at the beginning of the video, health and safety first. But we'll keep it moving, people. Subscribe, like, share, do all of that stuff. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Add me on Instagram, add me on Twitter, Turkish LDN. Until the next time, people.